My name's Michelle Thomas, and I'm working over at the traditional medicine program, and part of my job is to do education around culture and things like that within the community. I work a lot with health services, so I'm really excited to be here. And this is a lot of what I talk about is how do we take our teachings and put it into everyday life, right? So this is called putting the good mind into action. And I talked to Arnold Jacobs. This is Arnold Jacobs' painting. And I talked to him and asked him if I could use this. So I got permission to use that image because I actually planned this for a retreat that we had in the fall with health services, some of health services staff. And they kind of had this request of, you know, how do we take the concept and teachings of a good mind and put it into use, put it into action. So I developed this presentation around that. And I came across this image and I thought, that's like the epitome of, I'm feeling kind of nervous now with all these cameras on me. Okay. So this to me is like the epitome of the good mind. Of this comes from that story of Tadadaho when they put those first horns on him, right, after he was transformed there. And it's just really that whole idea around, you know, we as people can have that, you know, not be at peace and be, you know, have thoughts, actions, behaviors, attitudes that are coming from a really dark place. But we have the ability to transform that like they did to Tadadaho. And then once we get rid of that stuff and we're able to have that peace, then we're able to have a good mind and then put it into action, hopefully, right? So that's kind of why I chose that, is because it really goes along with what I wanted to talk about. So because this is a lot more informal than the other presentation I did, maybe we'll kind of just jump around a bit, but this is, I wanted to do something called sociometry also. I don't know if we have space for it. Are there classes in session right now? Okay. I'm just wondering if we could go out in the hall and use the hall for a minute. Okay, I like to use a lot of memes in when I do presentations. So mindfulness is attention to the present moment. Thankfulness, peacefulness, and observing thoughts without judgment. So it's just 100%, like it's a real buzzword that you hear right now out and about, right? But to really break it down is just really allowing yourself to be in the moment where your mind isn't thinking about yesterday, it's not thinking about what you have to do tomorrow or what's going to happen in the future. You're just 100% in the moment, right? And that sounds simple, but it's actually really, really hard to do, especially for folks that have had a history of disassociating, meaning that as a response to trauma in our lives, we've learned how to shut things out. We've learned how to just kind of detach and let our bodies are here, but our mind and our spirit are somewhere else, you know? And that's a trauma response, right? And so many of us in recovery from colonization, whatever aspect of that you want to say, we're all in that recovery process somewhere, right? So again, we're all very similar in that way. There's not one Indigenous person that is not in recovery from that, right? And so I myself have had to teach myself how to be mindful because I was very disassociative. Like I had such I was so skilled at just leaving my body, right? And just not being present, right? And I created all this whole other world, right? And so I've had to unlearn a lot of that in order to become mindful and to become present and become aware of what was going on, right? And so again, it's an everyday process to unlearn what we've learned. So, Haudenosaunee values. Always try to include this. Gana Kwashra and Wehauda I can't say that one. Sorry, I don't know my Mohawk very good. I'm not even going to try that. Anybody familiar with Mohawk? And the second one? Yowena. There you go. Gaskiaunyo. I can't say those two K words. Say it again. Yeah. So those are all important for us to understand. I'm always amazed because I've been in this healing and wellness field for about 20 years, and I'm always amazed at how brilliant our ancestors are, because we have all this embedded in our ancestral knowledge and our teachings, and it's like the outside world is trying to catch up to us, this whole New Age movement and all these things, but really it's just a part of who we always were, right? Love among us, soft, kind words, having a good mind, words of encouragement, and Ancestral, strengthen the mind, right? So that's kind of like how, I guess, the foundation of how we should aim to or aspire to be conducting ourselves in this good way and using these values as a filter for our own actions, our behaviors, our attitudes, how we treat ourselves and other people, right? So it's important to include that because, some of us didn't have that connection to our culture when we were growing up. And again, that's as a result of colonization. So just some little motivational quotes. I love Wayne Dyer. People that are really, I guess, interested in learning more about wellness. Meditation is a really important part of learning how to, like I say, unlearn that disassociation and unlearn those habits and to become more mindful. Wayne Dyer is excellent. I should say Wayne Dyer can't because he's passed away now. So he's excellent at, he does a lot of meditations and at teaching you how to work with your mind. So peace is the result of retraining your mind to process life as it is rather than as you think it should be. Changing your mindset gives you the key to open a world of possibility, right? Your mindset determines how you perceive and connect to the world around you. Okay, so mindfulness, why is it important? Helps us create awareness of our thoughts, beliefs, behaviors, and values. So some of these things, again, like having a good mind and mindfulness are kind of similar concepts. And these are questions that I ask myself, especially if there's a conflict and something is going on around me or around people that I'm close to. And we're looking for a solution to a problem. I always ask myself, okay, where's my attention going? What do I want to choose to focus on here? And does it align with my priorities? And does it align with those values? Because we are the only people that are in charge of our reaction, right? Especially when there's a conflict, right? And there's something that's going on around us that we might not agree with, whether it's an attitude, a behavior, words that are shared, things that are happening around us that we don't agree with. It's like practicing what I call practicing the pause. Before we react, we have to just pause and ask ourselves, is how I'm going to react, is that in alignment with those Haudenosaunee values? Because once I react, I can't take it back, especially our words, right? Very, very hard to retract that. It's possible, but it involves, usually having to go back and address something. Be accountable for your own behavior. Versus if you practice the pause and maybe don't react, and maybe the next day or a few hours later, when you have clarity, and all of that, your reaction would be a lot different, right? So mindfulness, again, is, it's really challenging. Okay. Where are my thoughts and slowing down the mind? Okay. So we're in control of our thoughts. Believe it or not, we can be in control of our thoughts. If the more mindful we are, the more we can say, nope, I'm not going to focus on that. I'm going to flip it around and I'm going to focus on this. But we need to start slowing down our mind and thinking about what we want versus what we don't want. When we start to think about what we want, you get excited, you get motivated, there's hope, there's positivity, and that you see that especially to be true when you're around other people that want the same things that you do. That kind of creates a whole vibration, I guess, because everybody is like-minded and everybody wants the same thing. And there's an excitement there, there's a motivation there, kind of you feed off of each other, right? And that's really exciting when you can be around people like that. Versus if you focus on what you don't want, there's fear, there's negativity, it's pessimistic, the energy is very, very low. This would be the type of folks when they come in, they sit down and visit, and you say, hey, how's it going? And you just hear beep, 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 because it's like a dump truck waiting to back up, and they're going to just dump all this stuff on you because this is where they live, in that place of what they don't want. And that's all that they are most familiar with, because you don't know what you don't know, and that's a human nature thing, for us to be stuck in a certain way of thinking, right? But that's why we do things like this, where we learn more and we expand our minds to understand that we have choices, we have options. There's always a different way and a different solution. So thoughts, this is how I like to define them. They're powerful energy bubbles. Every minute we are here, we can choose our thoughts. We all have that power to do that. The whole trick of all of this is that it's every person's individual choice whether we want to sustain that high vibration. Everyone has a choice to stand on that line or not over there. Some people aren't able to, or they're not ready to. And that's a part of being human. And we'll all be in that place at some day in our life, right? And that's why we have so many issues going on right now with mental health, depression, anxiety, all of these things that are happening in our society right now, is because we don't have enough tools for our folks to be helping, that support that they need to bring them back over to this side, right? And so that's why when I do presentations too, I like to kind of include those types of things, and that's what this is about here. So how do we sustain that, Because we might be at 100% on that side of that line, but maybe we're surrounded by chaos in our family, in our community, in our workplace, all around us. Not everybody else is on this line across from us. So how do we stay over there, Especially if there's a lot of toxic folks, there's a lot of people that are really still caught in their pain, dysfunction, and unhealthy behaviors. How do we maintain that? And because we can only control ourselves and how we react. We can't do a darn thing about other people, but how do we maintain ourselves and our high vibration? So flip switching is kind of what I talked about earlier, where we recognize, we pause, we recognize, man, I'm going downhill real quick. How do I bring myself back up? It's like looking for a life raft to pull yourself back up so that you don't go any further on that continuum. And it's almost immediate, So one of the things that I like to do is, I started this a couple of years ago, and now's the perfect time to do it because it's kind of the beginning of the year, is getting this jar and just randomly putting things in there that are moments that you don't want to forget. And it's nothing big, dramatic. It's just today. It could be something simple like today was the best sunrise, I got up early, whatever. Just things that are really, really powerful images, awesome moments that you don't want to forget. And you put it in this jar, right? And you can do as many as you want. And then the whole thing is that you collect things throughout the whole year in this jar. And then on New Year's Eve or New Year's Day, you read through that jar one by one, you take those things out. And it's just so many, it just really lifts your vibration, because sometimes we forget, especially if we've had a hard year, a lot of loss, a lot of death, maybe there's been sickness and all these things that are really hard on us as people. And we forget the positive things. We forget the gratitude and the thankfulness. So to have this one day where you can just go through the whole year and remember all the goodness that happened. So that's kind of like flip switching. Like, so if I was having a bad day or whatever, I might just go to that jar and pick something out, because I know I need something to turn me around, right? So flip switching can be really powerful. Repatterning unconscious thoughts. That's a little bit more, taking it a little bit deeper, but there's a lot of different therapeutic things that are accessible, I guess, to folks. One of them that I use is something called EMDR, and what that stands for is eye movement desensitization repatterning. And so it really works with, and I work with a trained person in that particular therapy, and she works to repattern unconscious thoughts. So if we are living in that place where all we can think about is this negative thoughts, and our behaviors and everything around us is negative, because that's all that we know, that's all that we're used to, it would be taking that and helping to change those thoughts into more of a positive direction. Affirmations are a really, really good way to do it too. Thinking about what we want to create, creating a vision board, that's another powerful thing to do that helps us to think about the future and what we want to create. Creating boundaries, that's key, because of what I just talked about. If we are, and people that are like-minded are over here, but people that we sometimes love the most, family, friends, people that are close to us, sometimes they're over here and they're not going to move, right? It's really, really hard, especially if we look at things like addiction. Really, really hard, because these people are often powerless to what's happening in their life. And so because we're loved ones, we're also powerless too, right? But there's a lot of behaviors and such that are on this side that are out of their control because of that addiction. It's not the person, it's the actual sickness that's creating that. So it's really, really hard. And here we are over there trying to be powerful, trying to be positive, and we're surrounded by, all of this kind of like a darkness, right? So sometimes we have to create boundaries with people that we love, and it's really, really hard, right? And that's why we sometimes have to focus on creating a chosen family too, because sometimes our families are not in the same place that we would like to be as an individual. So we can surround ourselves with people that are like-minded, that give us that same connection, and that provide support and kindness and caring, so that we can be empowered, right? And it's not saying that you're cutting people off and you're never going to have anything to do with them. It's saying that you do it out of love. You create those boundaries out of love, and that you still have them in your life, but that you're mindful of the impact that that has on your body, mind, and spirit. And sometimes we have to put ourselves as a priority, because no one takes care of us except us, right? So if we don't set those boundaries and limits, our energy will continue to be like how it was over here. We won't get to our true power. Surround yourself with high vibrational people. That's really important, because like attracts like. The more we practice staying on that side of the line, the more we're going to have that ability to attract other awesome people that are all striving for the same goal, right? That are powerful, creative, passionate, all of those good things. Their vibration's high, they're going to encourage you, you're going to support one another. Practice clean eating and exercise. That's an important way too. If we're constantly eating junk, like processed food, lots of sugar, all of those things. It makes it's not really wrong, but it does impact our system in terms of making our energy feel heavy, feel dense, feel low. And so it's hard for us to, if we went out to eat and had a Big Mac combo, you feel like crap afterwards, versus if you had something a little bit, more well balanced, then you don't have that same feeling, right? So practice clean eating, or even just like moderation, not to say that you can't ever eat like that, but just moderation, like not eating like that all the time. Exercising, excellent for like stress relief. Exercising can do the same exact thing as what I did in that 2-minute visualization. If you're in that space here where you're feeling disconnected and chaotic, go for a walk. I guarantee you'll be over there by the time you get back from your walk, because the movement, circulation, and just getting your breath going releases energy too. So any kind of exercise is really awesome. Choose inspirational music, art, websites. Again, we're looking at being mindful of, okay, I want to stay over here. So I want to surround myself with all those things that keep me in a good place. Essential oils are another really good thing. I could do a whole workshop just on essential oils. There's a lot that goes into that and a lot of different uses for that. I don't know what to really say about that, but I will say, if you're interested in essential oils, go to Pinterest. And say, for example, people always ask about how do you get rid of negative energy. So one of the things that I would recommend is creating blends of essential oil energies or essential oils, and then maybe doing a spritz, like making your own distilled water and putting different blends of oils in there. And you can spray your room. You can do it in a roller ball and put it on you, because it goes directly into your bloodstream when you put it on your skin. But don't put the oils directly on your skin because they're strong and can actually burn you. So you always put it in a carrier oil, something like almond oil. Maybe you want to relax, so you would put almond oil and then 2 or 3 drops of lavender into a roller ball, throw it on, and then it relaxes you, right? So there's tons of information on essential oils. And same thing, it's all meant to help clear, or it's all meant to help us sustain a high vibration. Our thoughts are just as powerful as our minds. So thoughts are really, So one of the things that I did way back in the day, when I was first starting my own healing journey, and I was really consumed and overwhelmed with being in this place where it just felt like everything was kind of falling apart, is I created this plan of care for myself, because I felt like I just needed to have some hope. And so all I did was I just took this big Bristol board and did a big circle, and I put physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. And I thought, okay, what can I do in each one of these areas to make myself feel better? Because I was just feeling completely defeated at that point in my life. So I'll just kind of share with you real quickly. Physical, I put exercise, water, limiting processed foods. Mental, investing in learning new things, meditation. I mean, there's no shortage of things online that are accessible to us now that we can get for free. I mean, this is the best age to be, needing healing because there's so many resources and supports. But you have to be careful too, because you have to really use your discernment, because not everything is going to be the best message for you. So really kind of trusting your own intuition as to if this resonates with you and all of those things. But there's tons of things that are motivational, inspirational, music, all kinds of things on YouTube, everywhere. Social media, it's out there. So it's kind of like just taking time to really, maybe taking a free class on meditation. There's just a lot of things that we have access to. Spiritual, ceremonies, language use, and continued learning. That's what helps me, but that will be different for every person because it's such an individual thing. Not everybody is, involved with ceremonies, but it's finding something that helps you to connect with something bigger than yourself. And that can be whatever you want it to be. It can be anything, really, meditation, it can be exercising, it can be whatever it needs to be for you. So that's just an example. Spirituality is such a big, it's individual and it means something different to everyone, right? Emotional, a way to process my emotions. I'm big on journaling. Journaling is really helpful for me when I need to have a big thing going on and I need to process it. I like to journal. So this is just kind of a little tool, I guess I wanted to share with you, that you can do that on your own too. You know, just take a piece of paper and do the same thing, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and reflect about your life and how you can help yourself to move from, it's again, it's like that tool, that life raft that you need, that's, you know, you can look at when you know that you're going downhill and what's going to help. Oh yeah, you can look at, because that's literally what I would do in those moments in the beginning when I first start healing. Because I posted that on my fridge and I thought, oh my God, I'm having such a bad day. And I'd go to my fridge and look at it and I'd say, find something, music, okay, yeah, okay, I need music. I'd put on my best playlist and just instantly take myself out of that place of having a bad day, right? So we all need tools because the world is crazy, man. It's not going to change. You know, we can't trust on the world around us. We have to develop that trust and connection to ourselves so that no matter what's going on in the world, we're strong enough, we're powerful enough, we're, you know, connected enough that we can keep walking through it to get to the other side. So we all just need tools.